Hey, what's up? It's Mykill Metal, and I'm playing some more Kerbal Space Program. And this time, I am sending some stuff out to Duna, the Moon, and Minmus. Right now, I'm sending this out to Duna, and I'm not going to be following the entire way. I think I'm going to do things slightly different from now on. I think I'm going to be setting up alarms, and then just do it in normal time, and I'll deal with things once they get to the place that they're going. The first stage, and yeah, it does knock off the top two little pointy things, nose cones, whatever. Goes the next stage. And one of the things that I like to do is I kind of like to burn realistically on launches, and I like to circularize as I'm launching. And how you do that is you burn slightly below the horizon. And here's the burn out towards Duna. I'm setting up a maneuver node to see how much delta V it would take for me to get an encounter, but it turns out I don't need that much, so I'm just going to delete that and burn Retrograde a little bit. A couple of meters per second, and I get my encounter. And now I'm going to set up an alarm for the sphere of influence change, and I'm going to start launching some other stuff. This is heading on up towards the moon, and it's going to cartwheel. As soon as I get up to altitude, I'm going to start burning directly towards the horizon, or slightly below it, so I can circularize on the initial burn. And the thing about this one, there goes the fairings, is that once I set this up to head towards the moon, I have to do it in a retrograde orbit around the moon, because the designated orbit around the moon is retrograde. So I'm going to set this up on a free return trajectory so I can just modify it once I get in orbit. I'm going to start that burn. As soon as I run out of fuel, I'm going to stage it. This one's slightly more powerful, so I had to kind of mess with the throttle a little bit more than usual. Alright, now I got to set this up so that the periapsis is about the same distance away as the designated orbit. Try and zero this out a little bit. And then when I set up the maneuver node, I can just wiggle around with that and then get that lined up with everything. So then once I get in nice and close, I can burn directly toward the desired orbit. There we go. I think I might do a little bit of a plane change burn, but I think I have it for right now, so there we go. And here's the next one. This is heading on out towards the moon as well, I think. Start the gravity turn. And then once I get up to about 30 kilometers, I can just head straight across on the horizon. Some of these, because I have NEAR installed, NEAR, instead of Ferromero Aerospace or whatever, because I have that installed, the rockets tend to do cartwheels every once in a while. Not sure why, but they do. Just gonna wiggle this thing around, finally get my orbit set up. And once I get into the sphere of influence, I start messing around with the orbit, trying to get this thing all lined up. There we go. And then set up the maneuver node and make that line up with the thing itself. And it's as close as I'm going to get it for right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that burn, and then I'm going to make a maneuver node on the descending node in order to line it up a little bit. There we go. It's about a 14 meter per second burn. It's not bad. And then I'm going to turn off SAS so I can stabilize the controls. Well, actually, I gotta... Yeah, there it goes. I got it. So, yeah. Got like 140,000. That's not bad. So that's good. Now I'm going to lower this thing down to a nice and low orbit so I can test my LV1 liquid fuel engine. Each one of these missions has at least like 3 or 4 different contracts that I have to do, which is pretty much the way to do it, because otherwise you're going to be going way too slow for your own good. There we go. Now I'm at the right altitude. I'm going to circularize, and I'm going to switch over so I can run the test. There we go. Got the contract. Let's see what else I need. I think I'm good. And now we'll switch over to this monster, which is going to be in orbit of Kerbin itself, but the difference is I'm launching this one retrograde because the first orbit that I need to get to is a retrograde orbit. So this is going to look weird because it's going the opposite direction that it normally does. The staging, and gets set up to burn up towards this. And then circularize. I'm going to find the part where they intersect. I'm going to put a maneuver node and then try to level them out just a little bit. And then make the burn. Once I have it, check, turn off SAS for 10 seconds, and I get the contract. Now here comes the hard part. I wasn't sure if I had enough Delta V to do this, but spoilers, I do. Just flip this around retrograde to my current retrograde orbit, so that would be technically prograde on a regular orbit, and just keep burning until I burn all the way out towards that one, which is basically at the same orbit as the moon. So switch directions of the orbit, circularize it so I can get it set up, and then burn on out towards it, the apoapsis of it, so I can get this all started to settle up. And I think this one, since it's a lot bigger than a normal orbit, I think this one's a little bit more forgiving in the percentage department. And the way this orbit is set up, I'm pretty sure it will eventually impact the moon. I'm not sure when, but eventually. There we go. Got that contract. And here is the next mission. This is heading on up towards Minmus. Get this all set up. Burn below the horizon, trying to drop the apoapsis a little bit as I'm circularizing because it's a little high. Pop the fairings. Most of the lower stages I actually do get the money back for because of debt refund. Most of them. The fairings I don't get money for those back. And I see the little line, and I'm trying to match that, but obviously that was a bad idea because I screwed it up. And I started my burn a little bit late. I know there's an encounter there, so just keep going. Alright, and then I set this up by burning towards the normal marker. I think it's the normal marker. And then put this at the point right there, and then circularize. And level it out. And once I do that, turn off the SAS. Oh, nope. I forgot that I have to have it in a specific position where that point, that little pink dot on the surface, has to be facing me. So, yeah. This is a synchronous orbit. I don't know what resonance or whatever, but this is synchronous. Actually, it might be Moonish Synchronous? I don't know how to pronounce that. Minmus Synchronous. Sure, we'll go with that. And then once I'm done with that, and I got that contract all done, I'm going to flip this orbit around and try to move it in towards the next one. Doing quite a few little tweaks to the orbit here and there, and then eventually it'll get to where it needs to be. Here comes another one. This is one of those awkward burns where it looks really weird. I'm gonna set this up so it comes in real close to the bottom, but not too much. Set up another one down here towards the surface and try to use that as my last burn. I'm gonna time warp in. I get nice and close to the surface right here. I get so close that the ground scatter starts to pop up. Make the burn, but I also realized that it started pushing me a little bit close to the surface, so I try to burn out a little bit and accidentally put myself in the right spot. Even though it looks a little bit off, it was in the right spot. I'm going to switch back to the Space Center, head towards the R&D department, and this is going to be it for the video. So if you liked it, leave a comment, leave a like. And yeah, I'll see you next time.